my town used to produce enough maize to feed the whole country at one time. So that is the background from which I come from. Living and just growing up amidst the lush maize fields and the tree plantations, I always used to imagine that that is the way it would always be, and I never used to imagine that there would come a time when all these would be gone, and a time when my town would not be able to produce enough food to feed itself, let alone the whole country. Moving on, I went to school, and when I went to university, I studied environmental studies at a university in Kenya. And at that time, studying environmental courses was not a common thing. So it was a sort of a challenge to do an environmental course, because everybody considered environment to be all about tree planting and all that. So everybody looked at me as somebody who had gone to university to study how to plant trees. You can imagine how weird that might sound to somebody. But then in the intervening years, Professor Wangari Maathai, whom all of you know about, won the Nobel Peace Prize. So I would always tell people that I'm the next Nobel Peace Prize winner. I'm the next Wangari Maathai. That's why I'm studying environment studies. So it is at university that I got engaged with the environment movement, the environmental club there. I became a leader and started really engaging in activities, going out for marches, for tree planting exercises, for cleanups, and just going to the community and talking to them about environmental issues. And then in 2006, the COP, that was COP 12, came to Nairobi. At that time, I really didn't have like a lot of knowledge on climate change issues. I just knew it, an overview of it, but I really hadn't understood how the whole negotiation process is, and I didn't deeply understand the facts surrounding it. So the COP12 was my first real interaction with climate change issues. I got to learn a lot. And at the COP12, that is also when the Africa Youth Initiative on Climate Change was founded and formally launched. Being a young African youth and being part of that new initiative that was being formed, of course, I jumped in and we started working together as African youth to sort of consolidate our voice on climate change issues. And I could often relate the changing climate with the situation back in my hometown, where now the climate had changed so much that we could only afford to get less maize yields per year, and farming was becoming quite frequent. After 2 years, you'd hear that the rains had failed and people didn't have enough food to eat and such like things. So I started to really link the two, and that made me more passionate about doing what I had to do, because then I know that it is about the future of these people. It is about my own future, because I come from this community where we've been planting maize for all this time, and now the yields are failing. That means that our livelihood is completely gone. So we continued engaging in climate-related activities, going out to schools and talking to school children about environmental issues, climate change issues, and getting them to do something. We specifically had an environmental education program where kids could learn about climate change and paint pictures. They had scrapbooks where they used to store all the images they found on which were climate-related, either from their memories, painting, or cutting and pasting from books or from newsletters, to just sort of share the stories that they have seen out there and from their daily experiences. And in 2009, I was engaged in a training with 350 on climate leadership. This further enhanced my capacity, and going back home, I was able to organize other youth to come together and have a big event in Nairobi. It was a tree planting exercise where so many young people came to join hands together. And at the same time, this was happening in different parts of the world, and I thought, how awesome to have people in different parts of the world who don't know each other, all connected in one single day, doing different things for the benefit of our planet. In the same year, I was able to attend the COP in Copenhagen. And attending the COP, for me, at the very end, it came as a big disappointment because I went there with high hopes. I was very, very sure that we are going to seal the deal in Copenhagen. I knew for me that all this work that I have been doing and all the work that other young people in Africa and beyond had been doing would finally come to bear fruit. But then that didn't happen. And during one of the days when we had a debrief of what had happened and we were just talking and sharing, the idea of doing something bigger and better came up. That was the caravan idea. At that time, it seemed like a far-fetched dream when we were just talking about it with the UKYCC people. UKYCC people here? Yeah, some of them were there. It was a cold evening. It was during winter at that time. So we were just talking and we thought that we could do a caravan just to create more awareness and capitalize on the fact that Copenhagen had managed to focus a lot of world attention on climate change issues. So we wanted to make use of that and ensure that communities really understood these issues and were able to mobilize themselves and take action on climate change issues. So we went back home and started planning a caravan in Kenya. But the story goes, we never really got to do it in Kenya, but we got to do it at the international level. So this year, because the COP was coming to Africa, we decided that instead of doing it in Kenya, now we're going to do it on a large scale. So we started planning for the caravan early this year, contacted people, organizations, sat together and came together to formulate the theme. The theme was, we have faith, act now for climate justice. We got a lot of support from the faith leaders who are the main partners in this campaign. Why faith leaders, somebody might ask? It is because for a long time the ethical and the moral voice was lacking from the climate talks, and that is why faith leaders thought that they had a role to play at these climate talks which are coming to Africa. So they also got together and say they want to take up an initiative that will make sure that their voices and the voice of the African people is heard loud and clear in Durban this year. So we came together, we had a petition, we had a caravan, and another element was the interfaith rally. Originally, the caravan campaign was supposed to go through many, many countries, but eventually we went through 6 countries. That was Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Botswana, and finally into South Africa. And what we did along the way was we had concerts. We had concerts where climate ambassadors were performing to huge crowds of people. Music which had content and themes around climate change issues, and just getting people to interact and know that through music, because it attracts you, they can be able to get these messages and go with them at home. We're also collecting petitions which had 3 key demands, and I'll just say, outline the demands that we were making. A second commitment period to the Kyoto Protocol, and we hope that we're going to get that here. Reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, 1.5 degrees Celsius, and also financing for adaptation, which is additional to the official development assistance. So those were the key demands of our campaign, and we traveled all the way. Along the way, we met with many challenges, we saw many things, but most importantly, we saw the hope and the faith that the communities along the way had in us delivering this message here. And that is why we are here today to deliver this message, that for all the African communities, for all those people who put their signature on our petitions, this is their time. This has been a journey like no other, and we believe that it has made a very, very big impact. For me, it has been a dream come true. And just to sum it up, I will show you a clip. Some of you have already seen it, a clip of our journey from Nairobi to here.